Now that I've graduated from college, I remember a couple years ago when I was looking for some sort of database where I could basically manage all of my classes, homeworks, different readings I had going on in a single place. And I've been trying a bunch of different apps from Notability to Evernote to OneNote, and nothing really seemed very comprehensive until I came across this app called Notion. Now, ever since I found Notion, this has basically become the central hub anytime I had to research ideas, write down video scripts, or plan out the assignments that were due for my different classes. Notion made everything such a breeze where I could easily have these different projects going on at the same time. So I want to give a huge shout out to Notion for sponsoring today's video, where I'm going to be walking you guys through my own Notion setup and show you guys how I've been using it, not only for my school courses, but also for my YouTube and other client projects as well. So even if you guys are brand new to Notion, I'm going to basically walk you guys through step by step on how I set things up. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, now right off the bat, one of the best things about Notion is that it's completely free for a personal plan. However, you can also upgrade to a team plan where multiple teams can share the same exact Notion. And this is a super helpful feature, especially if you have a lot of members on your team. However, today we're just going to be talking about the personal plan because this is the one that I've personally been using. Now, another really great feature about Notion is that they have a wide variety of templates that you can easily download and set it up to your exact preferences. This one right here was a downloaded template. However, I tweaked it a little bit to fit my preferences a little bit better. So if you guys are interested, it will be linked in the description down below. Now, right off the bat, it's basically broken up into this spreadsheet form, and this is just so I got a nice overview of the different classes I was going to be in. This was my spring semester of senior year, so obviously I had 5 different classes going on, as well as a senior thesis, and then I also made a separate page dedicated to my homework assignments. Alright, so right off the bat, you guys can see I've got a couple of different labels. So obviously we got the course name as well as the type of class it was, whether it was going to be a lecture, a study group, a seminar, a lab, or independent work. I also have a column dedicated to the syllabus where I could easily just drag and drop the syllabus for each of my classes so that they were very easily accessible anytime I needed to see what sort of assignments were due. And then to the right of that, I had a link for the Zoom lecture because during my spring semester, all my classes were virtual. So this just made it super easy. Whenever I needed to log into my class, I could easily just hit that link and it would take me directly to that Zoom lecture. Now, if we go ahead and open up each page, you guys can see I've got a couple of different drop-down menus for the different assignments, readings, or quizzes and tests that I knew were going to be due. And the thing that I love the most about Notion is that since each of these pages is its own database, you can essentially add however many pages as you like, and they're all going to be seamlessly integrated into that single page. So obviously, first off, we got something like our lecture notes. This is basically where I would jot down my main notes from the lectures. And throughout my college career, I basically used all the popular note-taking software like OneNote or Evernote, but I just found the structure and organization of Notion to just be the most simple one that I could easily integrate across all mobile devices. Now, obviously, as an economics major, there were several times where I had to input different formulas or equations, and if you're on a note-taking app like Notability, there's not really a way you can input these different math functions. However, Notion has basically given you the capabilities to write down any sort of mathematical equation. All you have to do is type the / which is basically going to open up your directory of different actions you can use, and then just type in math, and you can easily pull up an inline equation or even a block equation. And this has been super helpful, especially for any math or econ majors where you have a lot of formulas and equations that you want to get in your notes. This just makes it super easy to format so you can write down any sort of equations, and it just all formats really nicely within your Notion. And then in addition to that, if there were a couple of equations I didn't want to type out all the way, I would basically just screenshot it from the lecture slide and then just import it directly into Notion so I had them readily available. And then furthermore, if there was an entire page of lecture notes that I definitely wanted to keep to study later on, I would literally just screenshot the entire page and drop that into Notion as well. So if we go back a page outside of my lecture notes, I also had these drop-down menus for the different assignments that were due. And so for example, in my psychology class, I had a drop-down menu in the homework folder where I basically created a separate page for each of the assignments that was due. And it basically just acts as an entire online notebook where you're able to easily store all of these different files in a single place. And then for example, every week in this class, we had to do these reading discussions. So I would create a separate page for each of the weeks so that rather than having to scroll through a bunch of different pages, I was able to easily access them all in this single database. Now, obviously as a senior at Princeton, I had to write something known as a thesis. And although it was a very daunting task, I was able to plan it out. Having some sort of calendar view just made the entire process a lot more manageable. And as you guys can see, I literally said you can get this shit done one day at a time. So being able to track your progress through this calendar view just make sure that you're not only on top of all your deadlines, but gives you a visual representation of how much time you have. Alright, now like I said, that was pretty much my breakdown of how I took my class notes. However, I'll go ahead and drop a link to a little bit more of a detailed planner. This is the one my brother's been using for his classes, and there's just a lot more flexibility that I would definitely recommend using if you guys are still in college. Alright, now next up, we're going to move over to how I use Notion on my day-to-day basis. And like I said, one of the main reasons I've been using the software is that it just acts as a central hub for all of my different projects and video ideas I've got going on. So basically my home database, I've got it named as Chae, and this is just something I can easily pull up to get a quick glimpse of what's on my calendar for that day, as well as have access to the different video projects that I'm currently working on. Now, this is also a template I've tweaked from another YouTuber. However, the really great thing about this template is that you're able to write down all the tasks you need to get done in a single day that you can easily check off as you accomplish each one of them. But usually the night before, I'll go ahead and write write down the different tasks that I need to get done and schedule them accordingly. And then as I'm sure you guys know, sometimes tasks just don't get done that day. So all you have to do is just drag that corresponding task and then you can just drag it over to tomorrow, and you know that's gonna be a high priority task for your next day. All right, now let's go ahead and dive into my video projects folder. This is probably the most useful aspect of Notion because like I said, it just gives me a clear overview of the different projects I've got going on and helps me not only keep track of the status of those videos, but also the sponsor and the date that it's going live. So my first column is obviously going to be the video title. This is just something I can quickly write up so I know what the video is talking about. In the second column, I categorize it into the niche, whether it's a fashion, lifestyle, or tech video. And then in the status tab, this is basically the progress of that video, whether it's scripting, filming, editing. And then to the right of that, I've also got a tab where I can write down if there's a sponsor in it. The last two columns are for the date that it's going to be published, as well as a live URL, so that I'm able to quickly access all of these videos anytime I need them. So let's go ahead and open up a video that's already been published. But here is basically where you're able to plan out your entire project, from everything from your script to your research to your notes, as well as even have a slot for your film schedule and your shot list, which is all going to be super important, especially if you're working on bigger scale projects. Now, I'm not going to lie, for a lot of my YouTube videos lately, I've really just been writing out a pretty basic script. However, moving into next year, I'm really going to try and utilize these film schedules and shot lists to have a lot more complex storytelling involved. But as you guys can see from the script, this is a fall favorites and unboxing video, so it's very simple. I just jotted down some bullet points of the different items I would talk about during that video. And then I've also got some drop down menus for title ideas as well as thumbnail ideas. And finally, this template also comes with an editing checklist, which just helps me keep track of the edit as well as the different assets that are required for that single video. Now, as I'm sure many of you guys know, some of your best ideas come to you when you're least expecting. So I've also got a page just for the different video ideas that I've got going on in my brain that I want to quickly jot down so I don't forget. And as you guys can see, I've really started to narrow down the channel into 3 types of niches, and that's going to be fashion, lifestyle, and tech. And anytime I have a random video idea, I can easily jot it down here without worrying too much about the details, but knowing that I can come back to that at a later time and really script out the entire project. But having some sort of page where you can quickly jot down your ideas is one of the best ways to ensure that you never forget about that one random video idea that you're thinking about. And finally, guys, I want to talk a little bit about a task list. This is a page where I can basically track all the errands, reminders, or things on my to-do list that don't necessarily have a specific deadline. However, they are on the back of my mind, and it's always a great idea to write them down so you can visually plan out exactly when they need to get done. And the really great thing about this task list is that I've got it separated into my to-do, doing, and done categories. And so basically each of these is a different project that I'm working on, whether it's my YouTube videos, the podcast, brand content, or just random weekly tasks that I need to get done. I can easily drag it across from my to-do list to my doing list, and then once it's all been completed, I can drag it over to the done list. And once again, this is just a really great way to track all of your personal tasks. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how I set up Notion, not only for my personal life, but also for my YouTube and college content. And if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. There will be a couple of links to the different templates I mentioned. As you guys saw, as great as it is to download these templates, it really doesn't become useful until you personalize it based on your preferences and the different tasks that you have to accomplish. Once again, huge shout out to Notion for sponsoring this video. And if you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, folks, don't stress, finesse, peace, y'all.